I would like to call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. For the audience here tonight, the City of Glendora utilizes a hybrid meeting format to allow for participation both in person and virtually. In consideration of others and the business conducted tonight, please silence your phones and any electronic devices and refrain from speaking unless recognized. Again, this is a public. Thank you. Again, this is a public meeting for the community of Glendora. We appreciate and respect your participation here this evening. Madam Clerk, will you please conduct roll call?
Thank you. Trustee Brianna Chu?
Present.
Trustee Flowers?
Present.
Trustee Tolan?
Present.
Vice President Johnson?
Present.
President Landman?
Present.
Let the record show all trustees are here.
Right. I would like to call up Gabby Thompson for the pledge. Would you like to come on up? Thank you so much.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does anyone wish to reorder or add to the agenda? Okay, no one like to, so it's okay. Public comment. I would like to open public comment period. I would like to invite members of the public to address the library board. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once on both on and off agenda items. Do we have any cards?
We do not, and we do not have anyone on Zoom.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to close public comment. Does any trustee have any reports or announcements? I have a couple brief ones. I would like to first announce that Trustee Toland and I have decided to suspend the notice of intent to circulate petition for the library infrastructure ordinance. The other comment that I would like to make is I wanted to share information regarding a powerful conference regarding fundraising and advocacy that's going to be taking place on May 22nd. It is called Serving with a Purpose Conference, and Trustee Chu and I have had the honor to attend the past few years, and we have obtained quite a few takeaways. So just wanted to let the board know. Okay. So I would like to move on and invite Library Services Manager Cindy Romero to report the reports of the library director. Sorry, doesn't have a title. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Director Stone is out today, so hopefully I will be filling in. Hopefully, if you have any questions, we'll be able to answer them. Just a couple of updates since the board packet was printed. With the rain this weekend, we did have a few leaks in the library. They were all the standard places. It didn't really leak that much, and Public Works was very responsive in helping, take a look at it. We had all the buckets out, all of that. So all in all, not, it was pretty normal. Tomorrow evening from 6 to 8, we will be having a workshop, Defend Your Data, at Bidwell Forum, in honor of Data Privacy Week, which is this week. So it'll just help any of our community learn how to protect all of their data, because every time we interact with something online, our data is out there, and it's really easy for somebody to steal it, for the bad actors to take advantage of that. So we'll be using clips from various films and other popular media to show what happens when the worst happens, and have a discussion on that. So that's tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 in Bidwell Forum. We did recently receive a resignation from library technician Mark Rojas. So he'll be leaving us as of we'll be saying goodbye to him on Wednesday. And then we'll be looking to recruit for that position. And finally, the GPL Friends Foundation has set a date for the Great Trivia Challenge. It's set for March 8th this year at Foothill Christian School. I know more information will be coming from the foundation, but just wanted to put it out there. That's all I have, in addition to the written report, and I'm happy to answer any questions as needed.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite Library Services Manager Cindy Romero to report on the mid-year review goals and metrics for 2023-24.
So now that it is January, we're just going to take a quick look at the first 6 months of the fiscal year. The goals that I'm going to be talking about tonight really are the goals that are included in the city's budget document, and we'll be crossing those with the responsibilities of a public library. So you'll see how those goals interact with the responsibilities from our strategic framework. And as always, we'd like to thank the Friends Foundation for all of their support. Specific information about that is located in the monthly status reports. So we will just get started with proximity. The world of ideas needs to be where everyone is. So the use of on-site services as part of the comprehensive fee study that the city is working on. Tonight, the Board of Trustees will be reviewing library staff recommendations for updates to be considered by City Council in June of 2024. Next slide. Oh, you've got it. Enhance the risk management program by providing safety training for employees. So our administrative assistant, Gabby Thompson, has been working with training our staff and arranging training for our staff periodically throughout the last 6 months. So we've had trainings on personal protective equipment. We've had go backpacks and emergency supplies. We've had earthquake preparedness drills, emergency disaster working training. And so she continually looks for those as part of the safety committee and provides those or arranges for those for our staff. Next slide. Our gathering space, the facilities for library services assessed and modernized. So as you all know, we did get the final report of the structural analysis in October. In November, we had a joint meeting with the Board of Library Trustees and the City Council, a special meeting of the Board of Library Trustees in December to discuss the building needs. Then in January, the City Council met to discuss the needs, and the survey proposal solicited on revenue measure feasibility for library improvements and including other facilities. So that is ongoing. And then I know the survey will be happening this year. Continuing on with proximity, enhance the staff presence in community organizations. Our staff has established and continues to develop relationships throughout the community with the Glendora Service Clubs, such as Rotary and Kiwanis, Glendora Historical Society, who is actually having a meeting over at Bidwell Forum right now, the local public schools, the K-12 districts, and Citrus College, homeschool organizations, local special interest clubs like the Genealogy Club, the After Strokers, the Vision Support, and local adult senior living facilities, and programs for developmentally challenged adults. So we have staff reaching out to a variety of groups just continuously to find out what the needs are in those areas. So human development, lifelong learning, every age needs ideas and every age can have them. So we'll be looking, expanding opportunities for residents. We're looking at opportunities for high school students and internships. So this is kind of the volunteer program, but a little bit more expanded. Some higher level opportunities. So the staff is conducting surveys of local internships for high school students and reaching out to high schools and internships providers to see what's available. An assessment of community needs and local resources. One of our goals was to assess the community needs in terms of adult literacy. And we made an assessment of the local resources, community needs, and have made a recommendation to cease the state grant funding in support of adult literacy. We will be continuing to offer adult literacy services as a volunteer-led program. We're just not going to be doing it under the confines of the state grant process. So that was our recommendation this year. Moving on, preservation. Ideas shouldn't go extinct just because their containers do. So the local history digitization initiatives, as you know, the phase one was rolled out this fall. So that includes the Glendoran magazine and all local newspapers that we had in our collection that dated prior to 1928. And we are researching the next phase of digitization, whether that's continuing with the newspapers where we left off or some other local resources. So that is continuing. Organization. The world of ideas just gets messier. Who can help sort it out? So building trusting relationships with the community. One of the city's initiatives is to establish a season of service program. So the library staff assisted with and participated in a season of service event on December 22nd, creating cards for local homebound residents, as well as creating shelter or toys for shelter animals. I almost said that backwards and it wasn't going to sound quite right. Interpretation and context. The world of ideas, you deserve the whole story. Accurate data is one of those things that is harder and harder to get sometimes in this chaotic world. The public services team did all take part in a super searchers training, helping users to ascertain the validity of online images and websites. It was presented to the library staff in December, and a proposal for training all city staff is pending. So that will be coming. And celebrating culture and diversity, community events, library staff is serving on the Recreation and Human Services led planning committee for an upcoming Culture Fest that will be taking place May 2024. Sustainability, ideas need resources, and where do they all come from? So reusability, the memorandum of understanding between the Glendora Public Library and the GPL Friends Foundation and the city. Next processes, the implementation and transitional elements include donations processing, use of library iPads for fundraising events, volunteer relationships, public facilities access, and funding. And then there's some of those goals that really touch on all community opportunities. They touch on all of our responsibilities in our administration. Effectively organizing and compensating staff, flows of responsibility and class specification language is being crafted. And we are looking at extending the contract, anticipating development of Fair Labor Standards Act components and custom labor crosswalks to come. Supporting connections to information, guiding services, and partnership and development. We have launched a couple of surveys this last 6 months using a happy or not platform. Those are the screens that, you press a happy face or you press a sad face. So that is currently on the checkout desk. And we did conduct a direct mail survey of music listening habits and needs in November 2023 as well. Enhance fiscal responsibility for the use of resources. Library staff, all of our full-time staff in December of 2023 attended training on the city's new finance system, and staff is currently implementing those new procedures for processing or for purchasing. And so that comes to the end of those updates. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions? Okay, Trustee Flowers?
No,
Or, oh, I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
didn't even say.
All right.
Until a question comes.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you, Cindy, for that update. My question is in regards to the preparedness training, the emergency training. I know that we pretty well cover earthquake and fire, certainly, but as a reflection of our modern times, are we also considering training with the police when it comes to suspicious packages, barricaded suspects, or active shooting incidences?
Yes, we actually had active shooter training scheduled for our staff development day in December. Unfortunately, PD was called away to other circumstances, and so they were not able to complete the training. So we will continue to work on scheduling some of that training.
Very good, thank you.
Trustee Chu, do you have a question?
Oh, I was just curious to see what the results were for the direct mail survey of music listening habits.
So we direct mailed it out to 300 homes and did not get a lot of responses. But it really is a learning thing. It's a learning process. We've never done a survey like this before. And then it was sent out on social media. We haven't finished compiling all of the results yet. just based on the initial, people are leaning more and more towards streaming and live music rather than things like CD listening. One of the questions on the survey was, do you own a CD player? And not everyone who answered the survey does. I don't have one of those devices anymore. And so what we'll be doing is using the results from that to guide not only our collection strategies for music, but also any programming elements. So if, just as an example, I don't know if this is the case, if overwhelmingly we hear that live music is where it's at, we'll be looking to see if we can. Again, I don't know if that's what it's going to lead to, but we'll be using those results to guide both our collection and our service responses.
Thank you.
Record player was not a,
No.
I have one. I collect records. Okay. Trustee Toland, did you have any questions? Vice President Johnson? You have?
Do you have any status reports on when the final reports will be made as to the salary like recalibration studies?
No, so I do know that what we're working on first is the classification study. So realigning the job descriptions, and that is part of the contract that was extended. I don't have a timeline on when that will be completed. To the best of my knowledge, they were going to finish the classification study and then review the compensation.
And
Do
when
it-
will that be finished?
Don't know. I'm sorry, I haven't seen a
In
timeline
a
on that.
really long time. It's concerning.
Yes, I will make a note and have Director Stone follow up.
Just one more. Have you guys thought about doing any, or have we done any workshops on ChatGPT and how to effectively use it and whether or not to trust the results that they give and whatnot?
We have not yet done that. Artificial intelligence and all of those types of resources are definitely on our radar to see what we can and what we need to do. We've started with the fake news and misinformation on that. And then tomorrow night will be the data privacy. And then we're just exploring what needs to come next.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have, do you have a question? Okay, I have a couple questions.
Of course.
Just really quick. I wanted to know more information about the Culture Fest. Like, where will it be located?
Like
in-
who, what, where, why, when?
Yes, yeah. And
So
what's
that
it-
will be, I'm sorry, I don't have the date. It's May 18th-ish on a Saturday in May. It will actually be right in front of, we'll be closing down Glendora Avenue between Foothill and Carroll. So it'll be taking place on that strip of street right in front of the library. And I believe it's 10 to 4. And so there's going to be a variety of things going on. There'll be like food vendors. They're working to try and get a variety of cultures represented with food vendors. There will be a stage with different performances highlighting different cultures. And I know that community Recreation and Human Services is also working with the Consulate Corps in Los Angeles to have representatives from different countries be available to represent their cultures. The library is part of the planning team and will also be planning like a craft kids zone kind of area.
Sounds awesome. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then, oh, I loved the mention that you guys worked on creating toys for the shelter animals. That's great. How many toys did you provide? Was it the Pomona Inland Humane Society?
It
or-
was Inland Valley
Mhm.
that we were providing toys to. That was actually something that was run by a different department. Library staff participated in the setup and also in the event, but we didn't organize it. So I don't have some of that information, but we can try and find it.
That's cool. Thank you. Thank you. And then also, I just wanted to know, so the grant funding for adult literacy has been suspended. What did the funding go towards? Anything that the volunteers could not provide?
The state funding really funded some of the staff hours. We've already gone to the city to ask to have those hours absorbed into our general fund budget. And we're looking at using the hours that it'll free up from not being constrained by the grants to look at other community needs.
Okay. Thank you. So,
I think we're just pushing, if there's no more questions on that, we're going to push ahead to the metrics.
Okay.
As part of this same item, and we'll ask management analyst Elke Cathell to join us.
Welcome. It's so good to see all of you. Wow. Sorry, I have to adjust that. It's been a long time, so glad to see you again. I'm here to talk briefly about the metrics. You all have received the 30-page statistics document, and I'm sure you've all had so much fun reviewing it all. So I'll just provide a few highlights and happy to answer any questions at the end if there are any. Some of the things that impact our metrics, some of them are the same as in previous years and some are different. Of course, a lot of customers are using their own devices now, so we're seeing a lot of that. Customers are a lot more familiar with our self-service options and our library document station. People are getting more used to the features that are available. The right sizing of our physical collection, of course, is still an impact to our statistics. The availability of additional state parks. We used to start out, we had 4, I think, is when we originally started. So we have a lot more, which is great for the community. Of course, us going fine-free is a huge impact on our statistics. The summer reading challenge, of course, the first month of that summer reading challenge is at the end of our fiscal year, so that always skews our statistics a little bit. Of course, the school year does as well. And the purchasing of our content for the public fluctuates throughout the year. So you'll see at the beginning of the year, there's a big push to purchase a lot of things, and then it'll kind of go steady, and then at the end, it's kind of up and down, so it's not a consistent thing. Next slide, please, Gabby. Thank you. So some of the things that I wanted to highlight out of this 30-page document. So our Wi-Fi continues to rise. The numbers are just incredible, which kind of ties in with people coming in and using their own devices. So it's great that we're able to provide this Wi-Fi, and not just at the library, but at other city facilities too. So it's not just at the library itself. Our library document station is a fantastic tool. People are getting used to using it. And there's a couple of things that we were not able to offer before, which is scanning to email, scanning to thumb drives. And I think the word is getting out. People are loving it. The numbers are just incredible. And it's great that we're able to provide that at no cost to the community. And it's something that's I think we will just see a continued rise, because really that's what people are doing anymore. They're not printing as much. A lot of it is scanning now. You know, you don't fax anymore. You don't print as much. So it's great to have that tool available. Our meeting room attendance overall continues to be strong, which is great, that the people are using our facility and that people are aware that they can use our facility. Like I mentioned before, customers are taking advantage of our increased number of parks passes. So that is fantastic. Next slide, Gabby. So interlibrary loans are still being handled as requests for purchase. This kind of started before, it was after COVID when we had staffing shortages, and we were looking at changing procedures so we can continue some of our services. So we're looking at that now as part of our cost effectiveness. So we'll see where we end up with that, but that's how we're handling it right now. A big thing for us, and you may have noticed this in our programs number, is that it looks like our programs numbers are reduced, but we're not really reducing the number. We're shifting where we're having our programs. So we used to have our programs mainly on site in the building, and we're trying to go out into the community. And you see that shift in our numbers, where it looks like our on-site programming and our attendance is reduced. But if you look at off-site, it's tremendously increased. So that's just us trying to look and find where the community is and go out and bring some of those people that may not necessarily come to the library building. So it's just us reaching out. So that's great, a great thing. One of the other things that you may notice as far as our outreach, we've reached out to a lot of people in the the last couple of months via Constant Contact, which is what we use to send bulk emails. We sent 2 of them to the library's entire database, which I believe is 17,000, 14,000. So there's a big increase in those numbers in our statistics reflected in those last 2 months in December, actually. And it has to do with us notifying the public that we're closed for Staff Development Day and when library services are available. So we don't usually send that out to the entire database, but that was one of them. And we, of course, utilize Constant Contact for other things as well. But those are some of the big ones. Also, you'll see that our social media engagement was pretty high in November, December, which we were really pleased about. Had some really good success with that. And of course, as usual, a lot of our statistics are impacted by the holidays in November and December. So we tend to see a dip, and even in January a little bit, and then it'll go back up. One of the last things I wanted to point out is if you look at our volunteer numbers, in the past, we have utilized our volunteers for our In and Out program and our Winter Discovery Challenge. But this year, we only used them very minimally. So you'll see a reduction in those volunteer hours and the volunteer people being volunteering for us. Next slide, Gabby. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot in our statistics. Like I said, it's a 30-page document, a lot of information. So we just pulled out some of the highlights. Happy to answer any questions. And if I can't, I will find the answer for you.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next item is the consent calendar. So that was just a receive and file, right? Okay, all right.
Not even, it's
Just information. Okay, all right, just checking. So the consent calendar, items on the consent calendar will be enacted by one motion without individual discussion unless a board member has requested it to be removed for separate discussion. Does anyone wish to pull or comment on any consent calendar item?
And please note, there is a correction to the minutes. There is a correction to the November 30th, just with the meeting adjournment from 5 p.m. to 8:14 p.m.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Anybody like to second?
Second.
Okay, so a motion, oh, you say, sorry.
So a motion was made by Trustee Flowers and seconded by Vice President Johnson. I will now conduct a roll call. Trustee Chu?
Aye.
Trustee Flowers?
Aye.
Trustee Tolan?
Aye.
Vice President Johnson?
Aye.
President Landman?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And then if you could just please go ahead and vote.
Mine just is stuck on a second. It's not showing an opportunity to vote.
Did you hit second?
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
There
oh,
we
okay.
go.
Right.
And now you are able to vote. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, next is new business. This is and regarding the mid-year review of Board of Library Trustees goals. So I'd like to invite Library Services Manager Cindy Romero to present PowerPoint.
So this is a time just for a mid-year review of the goals that you have set for yourselves as a board. Just an annual review. In August of 2023, as a reminder, the board approved the current goals in the goal setting process that are included in your packet. Also included in your packet are some other documentation that pertain to the board goals. So this is an opportunity to assess your progress and plan for the next 6 months. Thank you. Our recommendation is that the Board of Library Trustees review the status of the board goals for fiscal year 2023-24 and take action on any reports or revisions as needed.
Anybody have any questions? No questions? Thank you. Okay. I'd like to, let's see. Questions? I'd like to request a motion to approve the mid-year review of Board of Trustees goals. And a second. Second, thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion made by trustee Tolan and second by trustee Flowers. I will now open it for voting and then conduct a roll call. Trustee Chus,
Aye.
trustee Flowers,
Aye.
trustee Tolan, Vice President Johnson,
Aye.
President Landman.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Like to review library fines and fees for submission to city's master schedule of fees for service for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Like to invite the library services manager, Donna Dukes, to present with the PowerPoint.
Good evening, everyone. So I will be talking about what our recommendations are for updates to the master schedule of fees for services. City Council adopts the master schedule of fees for services annually, and that incorporates fees recommended by you guys, the Board of Library Trustees, and it passes through municipal fee setting procedures. So in the January 2023 board meeting, the board approved for consideration by the City Council the library's proposed updates to the City of Glendora's master schedule of fees for service for the fiscal year of 23-24. And those recommendations included the discontinuation of library overdue fines starting July 1st, 2023, forgiveness of existing past due balances for overdue fines, and fee levels that were closer to the market average. So the current schedule was evaluated by library divisions. Files were reviewed for any new issues. Fee surveys were conducted of surrounding libraries of similar size. And we looked at other departments' fees to compare as well. So our current recommendations reflect eliminating fees that are no longer applicable, maintaining consistency across customer agreements, adjusting fee levels so that they're closer to the market average and that they reflect the minimum wage increase, correcting some grammatical inconsistencies and clarifying processes and dates, and reorganizing the narrative to correlate with all the related fee tables. So this is an example of eliminating fees that are no longer applicable. We are recommending that we remove the special loan material fee because we no longer loan out special items. So it doesn't need to be in the master fee schedule anymore. Maintaining consistency across customer agreements. Here you'll see that we added the plus processing fee to the replacement charge for laptops and iPads. Several months ago, we did go through the laptop usage agreement, and in there it does state that there is also a processing fee. And we note that processing fee for replacement charge for lost items. So we just wanted to make clear that one also applies to the laptop lending fee. That's not anything that's new. We just wanted to add that wording to the fee schedule so that it's consistent. So adjusting fee levels closer to market average and reflecting minimum wage increase. So currently we do offer test proctoring and administration. So and we charge $35 per exam. We are recommending that we do increase that to $40 per exam, and that is based on
research that we've done where surrounding libraries who offer the same service, we've looked at what they charge. And it's also still within, excuse me, sorry, within the range. I did not find any libraries that charged $35. It was always more than that. The range was somewhere between $40 and $100, depending on the location, so. Correcting grammatical inconsistencies, clarifying processes and dates, and reorganizing the narrative to correlate with all the related fee tables. So there were some places where we referred to fines, charges, and they all meant the same thing. So to maintain consistency, anywhere it said fine, we removed that and wrote charges so that it's clear that that is what we mean. In some places, we referred to a handling fee, and in other places, we referred to it as processing. So we just struck out handling and changed it to processing. And as far as the clarifying processes and dates, we did add to the header that it was recommended upon review and action of the Library Board of Trustees on today's date, January 22nd, 2024, so that people do know that these fees are being reviewed continually, even if they are not being updated. And then that last part that is in red, you saw in one place in the master fee schedule originally, but it is applicable to lost items, damaged items, and all of that. So we put it on top of each of the sections that it applied to. So the fiscal impact, we anticipate that the $5 adjustment for administering proctored exams is expected to see an approximate $45 increase in revenue annually. So while it isn't super significant, we proctored 9 exams during the last fiscal year. So it was based on that, and that would reflect the market average better, and also address the minimum wage increase that came January 1st. So our recommendation is that the Board of Library Trustees approve for consideration by the City Council the library's proposed updates to the City of Glendora's master schedule of fees for service for the fiscal year 2024-2025. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a quick one.
Yeah.
Do you know, just off the top of your head, how many borrowers do hit that $10 threshold?
Off the top of my head, I do not. We do run a snapshot monthly, but I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I can.
Well, I was just curious because it's at the library director's discretion then, right? Whether or not to continue services for that borrower.
That is correct. Although the other component to that now that we don't charge overdue fines is that if they have items checked out that are overdue, they cannot check items out until those items are returned.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for your report. Regarding the proctoring fees, I understand the rationale above moving the $5 incrementally.
Yeah.
Would we be disadvantaged at keeping it at $35 proctoring fee? Or in what ways might we be disadvantaged if
Well,
it's at $35?
So in terms of the adjustment, our staff, so to give you a brief summary of what our staff does when an exam is proctored. Typically it's for distance learners, although sometimes not, but and what happens is their school will send the exam over to us, and then there are procedures that have to be followed before the student takes the exam. So such as like if the student can use scratch paper, or if they're allowed to have their phones, and then there's forms that they have to fill out and their ID has to be verified. And our staff sets that up for them. And then when the student is taking the exam, they are monitored by the staff. And then once the exam is over, our staff does send those exams back to the school. So there is staff time allotted to that. And since that is the case, and we are going to see, or we are seeing the increase in the minimum wage, that was part of our sort of justification for that. And also because I mean, no, $40 is still very much the lower end of it. I saw maybe 2 libraries. Most libraries are charging 50 or 75, and I even saw a couple that were.
Right, I
charging
understand the
100.
rationale. You stated that very well when you gave the presentation, but it
Sure.
doesn't sound like we're going to be disadvantaged if it were to keep at 35 strategically, if we wanted to remain at 35.
I don't know that I have a direct answer for you at the moment. Unless you would like to comment, Cindy?
I think it's really a matter of more of a cost recovery for that particular service. No, directly, we're not going to be disadvantaged. I don't see that the $5 is really going to sway any test takers away from taking their tests in Glendora if they need to have a proctored exam. We have seen a sharp decline in the number of tests that we proctor annually, really after COVID. A lot of the schools found other options for proctoring their exams when there was no physical places that were available. But really the increase is as a cost recovery for that particular service.
Fairly negligible. If
Exactly.
the demand is going down in itself.
Correct.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So, would anybody like to request, a motion to approve for consideration by the city council, the library's proposed updates to the city of Glendora's master's schedule of fees for the fiscal year 2024, 2025? And we have a second. So,
I have a motion made by trustee Flowers and a motion second by trustee Chu. I will now conduct oral roll call. Trustee Chu,
Aye.
trustee Flowers.
Aye.
Trustee Tolan, Vice President Johnson,
Aye.
President Landman.
Hi.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. So for the board or staff closing comments, do any trustees or staff have any questions or closing comments? No? No? Okay. All right. Thank you. So then the meeting, well, the meeting will be adjourned. I don't know if I did that correct order, but at 7:45